Peace be with you. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. My name is Allan Keislar, and we're continuing our series on extraterrestrial spirituality, but we are specifically going to talk today about what will happen in Kashmir. And does God know what's going to happen in Kashmir? Does God know the future? Is God omniscient? Does God have foreknowledge of everything? And the answer we're going to give, as we have learned from extraterrestrial sources, is yes. In fact, every religious scripture that I know of teaches that God does have foreknowledge, God is omniscient, but at the same time, the future can be changed, that God knows. The future that God knows, God can change. Why not? If God is omnipotent, why cannot God change the future that is destined, or the future that he sees is what is going to happen? So the real question is, will God change it? Would God change it? Why would God change it? And there are many answers to that question, but the main answer that I want to focus on now is God does change the future. And he changes the future in response, especially to our prayers, to our desires, to our sincere actions. So I have no doubt that if we all together sincerely pray and hope from the core of our hearts that God will change a horrible possible future, that he will do it. So let us all pray, constantly calling on the names of God to please give us the best, most wonderful future. Of course, we all know what the future is, because as far as I know, without tradition and without exception, and I've studied many religious traditions, all of them point to some future time. Maybe there are a few exceptions, but almost all of them point to some future time when there will be peace. There are prophecies in every, or practically every, religious tradition that a time will come when there will be peace on earth. But they also talk about a time of great struggle, an Armageddon, a Kurukshetra, a battle of enormous proportions which will have to be fought before truth and peace, love and harmony can be established. So what does this have to do with Kashmir? Well, let me present what I see as happening right now in Kashmir. The Prime Minister of India and his friends have made a decision that they want to integrate Kashmir fully into India, even if it's against the will of the Kashmiri people. It's a very dangerous decision, because what will the Kashmiri people do? They won't just accept it easily. So there's going to be a big struggle. Now, what could happen? There's a wide range of possibilities, and it depends on the individual decisions of individual people who have free will. Prime Minister Modi has free will. He actually can still decide, although it's doubtful if he will, but it's possible. He can decide, we've made a mistake. This is not going to work. We did not properly anticipate how the Kashmiri people and maybe the world community will respond, if the world community does respond, as they should, on the basis of truth and justice. They should oppose this annexation of Kashmir, totally against Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, totally against decisions of the Supreme Court of India and the High Court of Kashmir. Both have made very clear decisions that Article 370 cannot be revoked, cannot even be altered by the decision of the Indian government. It must be done with the consent of the Kashmiri people, the Kashmiri government, which it was not done. So this was a mistake, definitely, and Prime Minister Modi and his friends in his BJP party, his backers in the RSS, they could change their decision, and that would bring a wonderful result which could lead to peace. It could lead to love even between India and Pakistan. So the problem really is this, and I'll summarize it very, very briefly. India feels that, or I should say the Hindus in India, I shouldn't say the Hindus in India, many Hindus in India, especially the RSS, they feel that India should be a Hindu country, and foreigners have come in and imposed their religions on some Hindus, converted them to Christianity or Islam, and that is not good. Therefore, we should change it back to India being a Hindu country, a Hindu Rashtra. And if anybody wants to live in India, they should become Hindus. They should be identified. They should identify themselves as Hindus, because for these people, Hindu simply means Indian. And actually, that's what Hindu means. Literally, Hindu simply means Indian. It's the very same word. Hindu means Indian. That's what it literally means. But this, of course, causes problems because a lot of people, Christians and Muslims, they don't want to identify themselves as Hindu. So that's one vision of India and the future of India. But there is another view, which actually was the main view in India from the time of Gandhi and Nehru, a secular India, or an India in which the government does not favor any religious party. But the BJP, the RSS, that whole group of organizations, Hindu organizations, they want India to be a Hindu nation and the government to support Hinduism. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, many of them feel that the best solution is just to make things so uncomfortable for Muslims and Christians in India that they will leave. Otherwise, they should be gotten rid of somehow. Very, very unfortunate situation, but that's their conclusion. So we have to acknowledge that. We have to understand that that's the way they feel, and they have a certain right to feel that way. If that's, they certainly are convinced that that's important for them. Of course, it's based on a misunderstanding, which I am going to talk about in a minute, which everybody seems to have this misunderstanding, not only Hindus, Christians, Muslims, many religions, if not all. They think that there are different religions. My religion is my religion, and probably it's the best religion, or it is, and therefore the best thing would be for everybody else to join my religion. Many people feel like that, who are Christians and Muslims. And Hindus now, or at least are feeling that at least India should be Hindu. So this is a misconception. Actually, there's only one religion. There's only one God. So how can there be more than one religion? That one religion is love and service of God, love and service of humanity, and all of God's creation. That is the one religion. And as soon as we start thinking, my religion is this, their religion is that, then there will be struggles and fights. So this is the real solution to the Kashmir problem, so-called Kashmir problem. It is that people are identifying themselves with a certain religion and thinking, this is my religion, and I must promote my religion, even at the expense of other religions, even to the extent of killing people of other religions, which unfortunately has happened for hundreds and even maybe thousands of years. It's very, very sad that people of one religion have considered that it's my duty, my religious duty even, to kill people of other religions if they don't convert to my religion. So what is going to happen now? That's one alternative, is that Prime Minister Modi and the BJP and the RSS, they could decide, okay, we will withdraw the curfew, and we will reinstate Article 370, and we will work together with people of so-called all religions, understanding that we're all servants of God together, and the whole problem would be solved very quickly. And this is actually what God wants. This has been very, very clearly revealed to me 20 years ago. God's desire and plan is that Kashmir should become independent in terms of its internal affairs. That actually was the original agreement between India and Kashmir. When the Maharaja Hari Singh of Kashmir acceded to India, the agreement was that Kashmir would be independent in its internal affairs, and only defense and communications and foreign trade, foreign affairs would be controlled by the Indian government, and all of its internal affairs would be run by Kashmiris, by the Kashmiri government. So that is what should happen. Kashmir should be given full internal independence, an autonomous state. Within, and this is the wonderful secret, both Kashmir should be a part of India and Kashmir should be a part of Pakistan. The entire state belongs to both India and Pakistan as far as running the external affairs. Therefore, India and Pakistan must work together to manage the external affairs of Kashmir. So I was told this. Again, it was 20 years ago, and I wrote letters to Mr. General Musharraf, and that was just before he became the president of Pakistan. He was the martial law administrator, and Prime Minister Bajpai, almost 20 years ago. And I told them this is the real solution, which has been told to me by a great saint. So, sounds amazing, but Kashmiris would then be citizens of both India and Pakistan. They would vote in the elections, the national elections of both Indian parliament and Pakistani parliament. And Kashmir would be Bais-e-Mohabbat. Bais-e-Nafrat nahi, balki Bais-e-Mohabbat. Not the cause of hatred, but the cause of love. So that's still possible, but it will depend on two things. One, Mr. Modi and his friends understanding this point and changing the direction they've been going and agreeing to it, which admittedly seems unlikely, but not impossible. God can do anything. And the other thing that's essential is, I've talked about this before, is the Muslims, especially the Muslims in India, but also, of course, the Muslims in Kashmir and Pakistan and elsewhere. The Muslims of India especially must recognize that Hinduism has certain demands or certain beliefs, of which very, very important is protection of the cow. So what I've recommended is that all the Muslims in India should make a decision that we will stop the slaughter and eating of the cows. And not only the Muslims, the Hindus in India too, because they're a lot of responsible. So the Hindus should follow their own religious teaching, and the Muslims should acknowledge, if we're in India, we will also follow this fundamental principle of Hindu religion, or fundamental principle of Indian culture. Go Mata, mother cow, should be protected because she is our mother, she gives us her milk, so we should not kill her. So these 2 points we must understand. And if the Muslims of India, especially the Muslims of India, especially the Muslims of Kashmir also, make this decision and make this announcement that we will stop eating beef, we will stop slaughtering cows, and that will encourage the Hindus of India to become better followers of their own religion, to stop the slaughter and eating of cows too. That will actually solve this problem between India and Pakistan. Not only Kashmir, the whole Indo-Pak conflict will be mitigated and will gradually be solved if the Muslims of India make this decision. So we all have free will. We really do have free will. And the Muslims of India can make this decision. And that is what I have been suggesting and requesting. So, does God know the future? Does God know what's going to happen in Kashmir? Yes, he does. But he can change it. And what does he know? I don't know if he knows that there's going to be a nuclear war as a result of this. That's quite possible, even likely, unfortunately, very sadly to say. Any reasonable, rational observers are saying it's possible or even likely that this could lead to a nuclear war. But God can change that. And God willing, he will change it if we all pray very, very sincerely and make sincere efforts to prevent that. And the Muslims of India have the opportunity to accomplish that by making the vow and announcing it publicly that we will stop eating meat, not as a submission to Hindu culture, but as an appreciation and love of our country, of India, and of the Indian culture. All right. So God does know the future, but he can change it, and he will change it if we make a sincere, prayerful effort. So let us all pray very sincerely that God will change a horrible future that looks like it's going to happen in Kashmir. Not only nuclear war, but as Imran Khan said in his UN address, it looks like what's going to happen when the curfew is lifted, that there will be a bloodbath. The Kashmiri people will not be very happy with this situation, and they won't tolerate it. At least they'll come out in protest, and many undoubtedly will try to forcibly, fight against the Indian military. But how can they? 900,000, almost a million Indian security officers are in Kashmir. 8 million Kashmiris. So one security officer for practically every 8 or 9 Kashmiris. How is that possible? So the Muslims of the world won't tolerate this. If there's a bloodbath, if there's a genocide in Kashmir, do you think Pakistanis and even Indian and Afghani and Persian and Turkish and Arabian Muslims will tolerate this? They can't. How could they? If the same thing happened to anybody, what would happen if there were 8 million Americans living in Mexico and the Mexican government suddenly decided to clamp them down, not let them out of their homes for weeks or months, and prevented anyone from communicating with them, prevented anyone from being able to phone them or contact them on the internet? Would the American people tolerate that? No, of course not. So it's not unexpected that the Muslims of the world will rise up against such a thing, if this is what looks like is going to happen, a bloodbath in Kashmir. When the Kashmiri people rise up against the Indian security forces, there will be a bloodbath. But that can be prevented, God willing, if we all pray sincerely and do our best to change our hearts towards love. This is the real solution. If everyone, including, of course, the Prime Minister and Cabinet of the Indian government, and the people of India, and the people of Pakistan, the people of Kashmir, if all of us turn our hearts towards God, turn our hearts towards love, turn our hearts towards prayer, and pray for peace, it is possible. All right. I'm going to see if there are any questions or comments. I'm sure there are. Okay, now I can't, the Facebook does not allow me to go back to the beginning. There have been so many comments that I'm sorry I can't see the beginning ones, but the ones, here are some that I can see. Didar Ali Chandio says, Salam from Larkana. Please explain what will happen in Kashmir now. Well, I think I have just explained what it looks to me, God knows better, but it looks to me like it very possibly this could lead to a war. And a war could mean a nuclear war. But I certainly pray and hope, and let us all pray and hope that that is not what will happen. Some way or the other. Either the best, easiest way would be for the Indian government to withdraw its decision about putting Kashmir under siege. That's really what the curfew is. Or there may be some other way to avoid a nuclear war. But let us all pray that that happens, certainly. And God will hear our prayers. God definitely listens to our prayers. Ibrahim Khapi, what do you think about Imran Khan? I have the greatest respect for Imran Khan. He is a very sincere man, very intelligent man, fighting against corruption, fighting against religious misunderstanding and hatred, fighting against terrorism. And I pray every day that he will be successful in his attempts to make Pakistan a true Islamic state, means a state based on truth, based on justice, based on love and harmony, based on concern for others, especially the poor, and love for even enemies. That is the teaching of Islam also. Farhad Khetran says, "आप क्या होने वाला अब आगे क्या होने वाला है? क्या लगता है आपको?" तो मैंने ये अभी बताया है. I'm going to speak in English now because every Saturday at this time I do an Urdu chat, but every Sunday I do an English chat. So he asks, for those of you that don't know Urdu, what is going to happen now in the future? What do you think? So I think I've already explained that. Qadr Unisa says, "Salam, namaste, and good day to Allan Keislar." Qadr Unisa is a very accomplished, educated advocate in the High Court in Hyderabad, and I am praying that she will also make this pledge not to eat beef, and she will encourage her Muslim friends also to do that.